The family inserts that they think this relationship started when Jacob was 15. So that would have been cause for legal action. But even if it was 16, there have been people that now, this is wild. So after my first story about this, I had people calling me on burner numbers that are teachers that work at New Bedford Voc and said that they knew that there was a relationship between these people. We had people make fake email addresses and send me information saying I saw them at a football game and she was wearing his jersey. Like that this was an issue and everybody knew, but nobody was doing anything about it. People in the community that had heard about it and said, I don't want my name out there. There's another thing too, where people are afraid to come forward. They don't want to be a part of these things. They don't feel compelled to do anything at the time. After the fact, they're feeling guilty. They want to just, hey, anything to help it along. So we had a lot of people reach out and say, listen, this is what happened. And we continue to just try to fight it, kind of chip away at it. And then the real break came is when the family decided to take legal action against the school district. So they have sent a letter or a demand letter to them basically saying they're looking for some sort of relief. And if there's no reciprocation there, they're going to, move forward with some sort of litigation in a court. Former mayor of New Bedford,
Scott Lang,
is their attorney representing them. But in the meantime, that got me to connect with the parents, Jacob's mom, his sister. It's very sad. It's a terrible situation. They feel that the school district failed their son, failed their family. They believe Jacob was not driving. They believe that she was driving the vehicle. I have spoken with the district attorney's office. I have spoken with state police. They believe Jacob was driving. We don't have any confirmation on that. There are some tests that are being sent back for a second run. So a new set of tests that they were looking for from the scene. And that's coming straight from the DA, actually. Greg Melody, the communications guy. Yep. Yeah, we ran into him. So Mike and I were at Starbucks where we do a lot of our work. And he walks in. Poor guy, thought he was just coming to get a coffee. And we grabbed him as soon as he walked in. And we're like, I need to talk to you about the Pothier case. Where are we going? It's already September, and this happened in January. Why have there not been any statements about this from your office? And it's an open investigation. It's continuing to move. But he did tell me that there was some tests that were sent to the state lab that needed to get tested again, is what he told me. So patiently waiting. And
they're testing to see if she was driving rather than him.
Yeah, I think there was this is not from Greg, but I think there was some issues with DNA that may have been on the airbags. There were some conversations I heard about Jacob's shoe being found underneath the pedal of the vehicle. But when I talked to family members, they were saying, the car was wrecked. Like, that's not an indication that he was driving.
In a serious accident, things move around. I mean, people get ejected from vehicles and whatnot. So.
Right. And I think what the biggest red flag for that is, there was a out-of-court settlement from Kathleen Martins with the insurance company. So Geico was the insurance company for this vehicle. And they settled a case with Jacob's family where Kathleen Martins was the driver of the vehicle. So we have an insurance claim that Kathleen Martins said she was the driver, and they paid the family. It's not a lot of money from what I'm hearing, but they've admitted in a courtroom or in a court document that she was driving this vehicle, and therefore the family was entitled to a settlement because he was killed in that crash. So we have an insurance claim that is saying that Kathleen Martins was the driver, but we have a district attorney's office that's saying that Jacob was driving.
And then there was that really weird fact of that his phone was missing, but it was pinged. His family took a screenshot of his phone pinged at the junkyard where the car was towed in East Freetown. And then they asked the police officer if they can get the phone back. The police officer, yep, I can get it. And then a couple days later said that he doesn't have it.
Yeah, so this continues to be a point of contention in this case. So the family told me about this phone. The first thing I asked was, how do you have proof of that? And they had the screenshot where they showed that the phone was pinging where the vehicle had been towed. So now the district attorney's office is saying that that is not true. They are saying that the phone was never there. The phone was destroyed in the accident, and it was just the sensor inside the phone that was in the car that was pinging. We were told that
But they're saying it was the sensor. They're saying the phone was destroyed and the sensor stayed in the car?
Yes. They're saying that the phone was
how would the sensor be powered?
They said the phone was obliterated in the crash and that it was swept up when they cleaned up the scene. And yet the family was able to ping the phone in Freetown. We also spoke with family members that said they spoke with a police officer who said, we've got the phone. We're going to do a data dump on the phone and we'll get it back to you. And then when they called 10 days later, they were like, we don't have the phone.
Now, was that conversation over the phone? Like, could they trace those phone records?
Over the phone.
Like the conversation of the police officer saying that, yeah, I have the phone.
That one, I don't know. I feel like there might have been a call and a face-to-face on that one. I'd have to check my notes on it, but the family is confident that they were told that the phone was recovered. It was the family said, hey, the phone is here. We're pinging it, or it pinged. We know where it is. The battery got shut off, or the phone got shut off, so they lost the signal on it. But they maintain that they were told by a police officer that the phone was in their possession. They were going to do a data dump of it or just retrieve the data, and that they would get it back. And they never heard anything else about it again, except that they heard from a police officer, we do not have that phone. We do not know where it is. Speaking with the DA's office, they are confident that this phone was destroyed, that the phone never pinged over there. The
so where they think
never
they photoshopped it or something?
Like, I mean, you know, so we talked, Mike and I talked about this. Look at your phone. It's got a case. How could this phone get so obliterated that nobody saw it? It got swept up.
At least like a good chunk of an iPhone, right?
I don't
it's
know.
Not just going to turn into pixie dust.
It doesn't make sense to me. The family maintains that the phone pinged and that the phone was there and that they were told that they would get it back, and now the phone is gone.
Man, so what do we do now? I mean, what's going on today?
So there's two things. So the family is still pursuing their legal case with the school district. I think they have some sort of a deadline where they have to reply. Last check with the family, there was no reply from the school district. We still have the investigation with the state police and the district attorney's office. Greg has told us that it'll be any time now. I have heard that all summer long. It's going to be any day now. I know eventually they have to come forward and say something. So we're going to have to wait until the DA's office. What I think, if I could predict, the DA is going to come back and say Jacob Pothier was driving that vehicle and there'll be no charges against Kathleen Martin. And I think that part of the case will be closed. And then the next thing will be the family suing the school district for negligence. And I think that that's the root of all of these cases, is who are in leadership roles in the schools, who are the administrators, who are being told that this is something that's happening between a student and teacher, and then what happens when they get that information. Whether these school districts feel like they have policy where they can remove a person, maybe that's the issue. Maybe we have to establish policies in these rule books and handbooks and say, okay, we need a whole section for relationships with students. You cannot be with them in public without a parent. You cannot have them in your vehicle. You can't text them. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing there. So I think that whole thing needs to be revisited. And my biggest concern here is every time I release a story about a teacher and a student, it brings out more. The web just continues to grow.